Hello and welcome to the Pop Hive, the show all about pop culture and entertainment from the discerning eye of me, your host, Kate Sevilla. This week we would discuss the Oscars if there were anything interesting to say about them, why Dappy is after Adele, 2 Watsons and an Oliver, and my favorite books that just might make you pass wind in public. Sexy. The Oscars were this last Sunday, and not much really happened. I mean, Brett McKenzie won for Man or Muppet. Oh, and Billy Crystal did blackface. But, yeah, that's really it. I mean, not much else happened. No one else is talking about anything else. Dappy, that little guy who was in that band N-Dubs with that lady Talisa, who apparently knows stuff about singing and is really proud of her forearm, has a new single coming out, and he's hoping to collaborate with Rihanna. But if that doesn't work out, he's hoping to have Adele lay down some sweet vocals for him. Fittingly, the song he'd like to have 2 of the biggest pop stars in the world collaborate with him on is called Dare to Dream, which I think sums up that whole situation quite nicely. V-Fest has announced its lineup, and if you love pop music and commercial bands as much as I do, you will love their acts for 2012. The Killers are headlining, and they also have Nicki Minaj, Snow Patrol, and Tom Jones playing. Tom Jones! Tickets are on sale today, and you can visit vfestival.com for more info. But not until I'm done with you. Saturday Night Live has been on a roll lately with stellar hosts like Daniel Radcliffe, Zooey Deschanel, and Maya Rudolph. And this week, they have Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay freaking Lohan. Lindsay has already hosted SNL 3 times already. Yet, due to the fact that she's been on probation since 2007 for her 2 DUIs, and has since failed drug and alcohol tests, missed counseling sessions, and community service work, she hasn't been on the show in a while. Oh, and she was arrested for shoplifting too, so she hasn't really had time. I'm all for emotional comebacks and victorious redemption, but how can we have people come back when the only place they've gone is the cover of Playboy and a prison cell? It's not like I think Lindsay Lohan should be condemned forever. But what is with our popular culture just being like, oh, you're a complete hot illegal mess, but here, come on our TV show. Or, hey, you beat the crap out of your girlfriend, but here's a Grammy. As far as I'm concerned, Lindsay Lohan can have her comeback after her probation is done. But her next hearing isn't even until March 29th. Lilo told Matt Lauer in an interview that she's clean and sober, and has been for a while, even though she's only managed to have 3 positive reports from the court in a row. 3 in a row! Great. Well done. Lindsay's reportedly said that she's up for any jokes on Saturday Night Live, so here's hoping there's plenty of lighthearted jokes about drinking and driving and Class A drug use. Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans will be pleased to know that Juliet Landau, who played the crazy-ass vampire Drusilla, is writing a 5-issue comic book series for Dark Horse Comics in June, aptly called Drusilla. Landau says that her series will pick up exactly where Drusilla's last appearance in the Angel and Faith comic book series left off, which comes out on April 25th. Rather unsurprisingly, Hollywood has once again decided to take something beautiful and innocent and turn it into something absolutely hideous. And no, I'm not still talking about Lindsay Lohan. Not content with just making unnecessary remakes of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Let the Right One In, Hollywood now thinks we need a Doctor Who movie without Stephen Moffat, a reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer without Joss Whedon, and now after seeing the magic of Benedict Cumberbatch in Sherlock, they think we need a remake of that too. Like Moffat's modern take on Sherlock, the US version is also going to be modern and called Elementary and set in New York, not London. Johnny Lee Miller, who is apparently the only British actor they could get to do this, is playing Sherlock, and Watson is being played by Lucy Liu. Yep, Lucy Liu. A woman. A woman Watson. Watson with ovaries. Lucy's version of John Watson is called Joan Watson, a doctor who has lost her medical license. To all of those who've always wanted to see Holmes and Watson shag, now's your chance! A female Watson who I don't find upsetting is Lorna Watson of the new BBC 2 comedy show called Watson and Oliver. Watson and Oliver are a rather successful stand-up comedy act that has scored themselves a comedy sketch show. The show's format is a standard BBC sketch show format, and some of the ideas behind the regular skits like At Home with Kate and Wills, and the quick jabs at celebrities like Mylene Klass and Keira Knightley aren't exactly surprising or terribly innovative, but these two make me laugh. Their absolutely no sense and sensibility skits will indeed make you LOL, and my favorite sketch so far is their Playboy Bunny sequence, where they pretend to be Hugh Hefner's new girlfriends who throw up in their mouths a little whenever Hugh mentions having a snuggle with his girls. Plus, Watson and Oliver both managed to snog John Barrowman in the first episode of their show, which I think deserves a big high five and a simultaneous jazz hand at the same time. You can watch episodes 1 and 2 of Watson and Oliver on the iPlayer now, but I'd prefer if you didn't watch it right now, because I would obviously like you to still watch me. And speaking of me, I'm now going to hand the show over to myself to talk about the books that I think will make you spit up your drink and fart a little while reading them. In the good way, of course. Reading is one of the best pastimes ever. You can enjoy a nice book on the plane, during your commute, while you're waiting for a pregnancy test to develop. The possibilities are endless. E-readers like the Kindle make it easier for you to find and quickly download books to read. However, I find the idea of having thousands of books at my fingertips a bit intimidating, and I've panic-bought books like The Unsinkable Heather Mills and Mommywood by Tori Spelling. Sometimes a little guidance is necessary, so I thought I would share with you 5 excellent books I think you'll enjoy. Oh, but these aren't just any books. These fall into a little genre I like to call books that will make you ugly laugh in public. Yes, ugly laugh. You know how the ugly cry has become a thing, like when you're so upset that your face contorts into this unrecognizable, over-emotional troll doll face, and you can't stop because you're too busy hyperventilating? Yeah, that. There's also the ugly laugh. A normal laugh looks something like this. An ugly laugh looks like this. Ugly laugh side effects include unintentional snorting, bouncing shoulders that make you look like you're an animated GIF, any liquid you've recently consumed popping unexpectedly out of your mouth, and the accidental yet powerful passing of wind, which we can come back to later. I read a lot in public, mostly to avoid people making small talk, and the following books have made me ugly laugh everywhere from Starbucks to the underground, causing people to judge me and ask themselves, what the hell does she think is so funny? Well, I'm going to tell you what's so damn funny. Here's my list of the top 5 books that will make you ugly laugh in public. My number 1 ugly laugh is Chelsea Handler's My Horizontal Life. I bought this from Waterstones back in the summer of 2006, before Chelsea Handler had a TV show and before anyone really knew who she was. I'm not sure what compelled me to want to read a book about someone else's ridiculous, rampant sexual escapades, although I think I may have just answered my own question. Chelsea Handler gives a candid and ridiculous description of all the time she spent horizontal, and I remember reading this in a Starbucks and actually having to take a break because I was laughing so much I couldn't breathe, and people around me were starting to stare. What stands out for me the most in this book is a particular story about Chelsea throwing a pair of soiled panties out the window, only to have someone's dog not only find them, but then bring them back to her. Literary gold. At the time of reading this book, I took the time to scribe a special MySpace message to Chelsea Handler, telling her how much I enjoyed her book. Ms. Handler responded by saying the following. Thanks! I'm almost done with the next one, but have severe vaginas block. XO, Chelsea. Basically, we're best friends. My next favorite Make You Ugly Laugh in Public book is Sarah Silverman's The Bedwetter, Stories of Courage, Redemption, and Pee. I love Sarah Silverman, but I wasn't exactly sure what to expect from her as an author. Yeah, she's funny, but was her book just going to end up like a written version of her stand-up? The answer? No, not at all. While it is funny, much like her stand-up, it's much more personal and more about telling a story rather than just trying to get to a punchline and make everyone laugh. The Bedwetter has a foreword written by Sarah Silverman, an afterword written by God, and literature's first ever midword, where Silverman lets us know how she's feeling midway through writing her book. If you love stories about people's rise to fame or success, you will really enjoy this book, especially the bit where she explains the incredibly weird reason she was basically fired from Saturday Night Live, and the entire chapter she's dedicated to transcribing her father's ridiculous voicemails. Plus, this is the only book I know that features a male full frontal, with a close-up photo of a flaccid penis wearing a hair clip. Next up, a book every self-respecting woman in the UK should read, Caitlin Moran's How to Be a Woman. I started reading this book on a plane last summer, and it got pretty messy. I didn't know what to expect from a book that was apparently all about feminism and how to be a lady, but when I hit page 25, I knew this book would quickly become one of my favorites. Basically, Caitlin goes to the library and innocently checks out Jilly Cooper's novel, Riders, because there are horses on the cover. Caitlin writes, 3 hours later and I cannot believe what I'm reading. My first day of getting adult books and I have struck filth gold. Absolute filth gold. Riders by Jilly Cooper is more than I could have ever dreamed of. There's cocks, tits, and shagging everywhere. Clits falling from the sky. Asses 2 feet deep. A hurricane of nipples, blowjobs, and muff diving. Upon reading that paragraph, I was laughing so hard on the plane, I'm sure the people near me wanted to crack the emergency door open just enough so my Kindle and I got sucked out. On a side note, on that same flight I also cried watching Justin Bieber's Never Say Never. I had the most intense nosebleed of my life. It was an emotional flight. How to Be a Woman is basically so funny at times you can barely breathe, and at others, it's completely and overwhelmingly heartbreaking. It is the most honest book about growing up and becoming a woman, and all of the wonderful and fabulous things, and sometimes complete and utter bullshit it brings. You will fall in love with Caitlin Moran reading this book, and that love will slowly burn into an obsession that will lead you into wanting to become her. But we can talk about those feelings at another time. Number 4 on my list is Mindy Kaling's Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me? And Other Concerns. This book is just ridiculous. More of a collection of both short and long stories and essays and even lists. This book is a quick, fun read that if you're reading it in bed while your boyfriend sleeps next to you, you will wake him up with your snorting. Kaling, like Caitlin Moran, has a knack for being brutally honest about herself, making her both vulnerable and fearsome at the same time. This book is just plain fun. It's not filled with drug abuse or sad stories of Kaling's childhood. It's all about the good and bittersweet parts of growing up, with added bonuses like stories about the writer's room at the office, and a collection of titles of films that Mindy thinks, based on the concerning meetings she's had with production companies, may soon be coming to a theater near us, including Bananagrams, 3D, Sharks vs. Volcanoes, Bad Astronaut, Hate Fuck, and Sex Dude. Mindy also includes embarrassing photos that she's taken of herself on her BlackBerry, and of all the authors on this list, Mindy is the most relatable, and I feel like if I were to ask her to come over, eat a pizza with me, and make margaritas together while watching films like Practical Magic and Notting Hill, she would totally say yes. I mean, she probably wouldn't say yes, but it's a nice thought. My 5th favorite Ugly Laugh book is none other than Tina Fey's book, Bossy Pants. It may seem like a bit of a cop-out to include this on a funny book list, because, hello, it's Tina Fey. This is precisely why I waited until January 2012 to read it, despite it coming out in April of last year. However, all hype aside, this book is one of the best books I've ever read. Tina Fey is wise, and has for the most part been pretty private about her life. The beginnings of Fey's book starts out the way most funny lady books start out these days, with tales of awkward first periods and boob growth, but it quickly transforms into a captivating and endearing story of her life, full of ridiculous anecdotes. One of the best chapters is when she explains how in a span of 3 days, she had Oprah guest starring on 30 Rock, was appearing on Saturday Night Live as Sarah Palin for the first time, and then she has to organize a Peter Pan-themed birthday party for her daughter. As you do. I love the stories of her all-night 30 Rock writing sessions in her kitchen, and the working environment at Saturday Night Live. Faye is basically a legend, and one day I would love to hug her, and perhaps have it linger on a bit longer than it should, because I'm creepy like that. As you may have noticed, all my top 5 books were written by women. To be honest, this wasn't my intention. There's an age-old stereotype that men can't be funny. Apparently, they're so handsome that historically they haven't needed to be funny. But I happen to think that there are some funny men out there. Not many, I guess, because they can't relate to them, as they're always talking about their relationship problems and their periods, and I don't really want to hear about all that. But I happen to find Danny Wallace funny, and that's not just because he's easy on the eyes. Danny's book, Awkward Situations for Men, is a special male bonus on my Books That Make You Ugly Laugh in Public list.
Life is fraught with tricky situations, which my new book aims to tackle. Situations like how to walk behind a woman you don't know at night.
For a guy, Danny Wallace is pretty funny, and I ugly laughed reading this book as I usually do in reading his column in Shortlist, while sitting alone in a pub in a darkened corner so no one can see me reading a guy magazine. You can download all the books mentioned above on your Kindle, except Chelsea Handler's book, My Horizontal Life, because her publishers apparently live in the dark ages. I mean nothing. Thank you, self. That's all the time we have for this week, but be sure to find us over on Twitter as @PopHive, or if you have something or someone that you'd like to see featured on the PopHive, head on over to the contact section of our website at pophive.tv/contact. Thank you very much for watching.